Hi, my name is Colin Lee. I'm a first-year PhD student at UC Davis in the personality area. I work with Dr. Emery Beck. This project is idiographic trait profiles across time, and let's begin. So the outline, we begin with the data box, how psychological data, people, time, and variables can be conceptualized as a box and different ways of summarizing that data. Then we get into the meat of the project, which are momentary profiles, go over what finite mixture modeling is, and specifically the properties of idiographic finite mixture modeling and the profiles that result from them. Then the present study, and then we end with the theoretical and empirical justifications of using this method. So Catel's famed data box, there are multiple ways to summarize psychological data. And one that we're all familiar with, whether we know the term or not, is our technique. And that is something like gathering a sample, giving them a survey with multiple variables at one time point, and summarizing them with something like factor analysis, resulting in, let's say, the Big Five or Hexaco. And so the present study uses O technique, which is just a different way of summarizing data. But in O technique, you take an individual participant with multiple variables and multiple occasions, and then you classify these different time points and you group them together if they have similar levels of facets. So this is just a more detailed table of the data box. And so again, familiar with our technique, and that results in something like the big few, and we will be concentrating on O technique. And so the approach is idiographic in that a person is studied relative to themselves, and it summarizes or clusters over moments with similar variables, and the result are momentary profiles. So first, let's talk about nomothetic finite mixture modeling. And so this technique has been used, like the name says, nomothetically, where, for example, Mertz and Roche, they gathered a sample, gave them the big five, and then classed or grouped people together according to their responses. And that resulted in three groups of people who endorsed similar trait levels. And so the underlying assumption of this is that there are latent profiles or personality profiles that generate similar patterns of responses on trait indicators, and these people can be grouped together. Idiographic profiles are somewhat similar, but instead of grouping people, we're going to be grouping moments within a person. And so, again, one, profiles are person specific. Two, they are moments in time. And three, these moments in time that endorse similar and unique levels of facets are grouped together. And so the assumption of this method is that there are underlying latent profiles that generate similar patterns of responses within a person. This is the present study and its design, and I've tried to record this before and went way over, so I'm going to leave this for you to read. And these are the descriptive statistics. It's a bit of a hodgepodge, but an important row to look at is G, and that's the number of profiles. So median number of profiles is 2, but it ranged from 1 to 6. And now we can look at a couple examples. So that first example I showed you, the person had 3. Now something like this, we're going to look at something a bit more wild where participant 26 on the left has 5 profiles and the one on the right has 2, and you can see these unique levels. So why do we want to use a method like idiographic finite mixture modeling? How we typically study traits is we're going to assume that a person is consistent across time in their personality expression and that it is relatively static. But we know from William Fleason's work, my own mentor, Emery Beck's work, as well as many others, is that state expression specifically changes the rule rather than the exception. And so with this method, we're going to be looking at patterns of regularity. And so although this participant on the left, they do endorse one profile, that seems to be the minority of participants, as you can see in this table on the left. The majority of participants endorse at least 2, if not more, profiles across time. And so someone like the participant on the right is the modal participant in terms of personality profiles. Now the effects of situations. So these are preliminary analyses, but for each ESM, a participant filled out the BFI, as you can see on the right, but they also filled out the Diamond scale, which is the psychological characteristics of situations on a scale of 1 to 3. And so this is one example. This is the same time point, a participant who endorsed high mating positivity and sociality. That was the same time point that was classified as this purple line. And at least from a glance, you could see relatively high on extroversion, agreeableness, and conscientiousness, openness, and low neuroticism. And so this is a potential empirical and theoretical reason for these different profiles. And that's the end. Thank you.